whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone. Hi, everyone watching us on the YouTube. What's up? Good to see ya. Brian has his jaws up. All the love to all the monster movies.
I also have the Sanderson sisters here and Danny with Binks in my Funko Pop collection.
See, my Zoom is very small, so I can only
Sure.
I can't see much. I'm so sorry. I don't see how I missed that. But if you're actually watching us on YouTube full screen, I'm sorry, Brian. But I love the Pop Funkos. I've been wanting to find them at a Spirit Halloween because they were advertising that they were selling them, but the ones that I've been to, they've been sold out. Sad days. But hopefully we'll get to it. And speaking of all of this, we are talking about the 2022 Wikipedia describes it as American fantasy comedy film.
Sure.
With a little bit of spooks. Hocus Pocus 2.
Electric Boogaloo. No, that's probably not part of the title.
I mean, if you want to put it there, I don't mind. Honestly. So this movie was directed by Anne Fletcher and written by Jen D'Angelo. And its stars are returning witches, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathleen Najimy, with an appearance by Doug Jones reprising his role as Whale. And adding on, rounding out the cast, we have Sam Richardson, Whitney Peake, Belissa Escobedo, Tony Hall, and Hannah Waddingham. So all of the newbies coming in to join all the OGs, I should say, in this fantastic sequel to the 90s movie. So obviously heavy spoilers. We're going to be talking about everything Hocus Pocus 2 and most likely Hocus Pocus 1. So if you haven't watched either of those, what have you been doing for the last...
What are you doing?
I don't know however many days. Because you have to just watch the things. Or years, yes. Because this is a staple. So are there any trigger warnings for this, Jamie?
I mean, this movie it centers around witchcraft. So if witchcraft is too spooky for you, then this might not be the franchise for you, the chain for you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, before we get further into this, producer Brian, do you have some words for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Producer Brian here. And if you're on YouTube, hello. We are doing some really fun stuff this October. So make sure you're following us on all social media platforms. That includes TikTok at Talk Horror Pod. And also on Twitter and Instagram. Check us out there. Some fun stuff on all of those. And then, of course, find us on YouTube. Talk Horror Podcast on YouTube. Hello. You can find all of our podcasts there with our beautiful faces.
Yeah. And you can see all of Brian's everything and be appreciative of that.
Just my Funko
well, not
Pops.
Everything. Your Funko Pops.
Just my Funko Pops.
Just to clarify, only Pops.
Only the Pops.
Only Pops.
Because I shouldn't have said only Pops.
Yeah. Have you been to my super cool subscription account, Only Pops?
Love it. Obsessed. So we need a 2-minute plot summary of this before we get down to the nitty gritty. So
wait, Nikisha, we watched so much stuff this week.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Just skipping through all the things.
No, it's okay.
Please tell me all the things that you've watched.
Yeah. Well, first, you mentioned Spirit Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got these Funko Pops because Jamie and I were going to see Smile, which we'll talk about momentarily.
Yes.
And there was a I can't smile and talk at the same time. It's very difficult. We went to the Spirit Halloween that was across the street from the movie theater, and we walked in 10 minutes after it opened for the first time.
That
We didn't
is
eat
wild.
like we didn't plan that, but they had all the Funkos on the shelf, so I was like, one of each, please.
Of
Um,
course. Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
but yeah, I love Spirit. I almost bought Spirit merch because like I just love it so much in there.
Yeah, they
Oh,
have merch now.
that's so exciting. Just like, well, there's supposed to be that Spirit Halloween movie
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
that's
that
on.
comes out sometime. Yeah.
That's like October 10th or 11th of this month. It is absolutely going to be stupid and wild and
Yes.
silly, and it's on video on demand. I'll be covering it on TikTok, so you could definitely check it out there. We're not going to do a full episode on it, but I'm sure we'll talk about it like we're doing now before an episode does. Yeah,
Absolutely.
um, totally. But Spirit Halloween is such a good time.
It was
It
so much
is.
fun.
Yeah, like they have some cool stuff in there. Like they have Camp Crystal Lake signs that are like very nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have a haunted mansion lantern that has the four sides of the paintings on the wall from it. That was super cool. They have tons of trick or treat stuff and like the movie Trick or Treat. And it
Yes.
boggles my mind that like Sam is so popular and that's the only movie he's in really. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
Yes.
awesome. Like, give me a. I know we talked about this last week on our trick or treat episode, but like, give me more
Mhm.
Sam.
More Sam. More Sam.
I
More
More
think
Sam.
you're
Sam.
not the only one because the Spirit Halloweens that I've been into, Sam is literally everywhere, as if he is Spirit Halloween spokesperson. And
Right?
that's his dual
They
job.
hired him.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell me about Smile, or give me what you can about it.
Sure. So
Oh
Jamie,
boy.
what would you like to dig in?
I actually like screamed in the theater.
What?
The jump scares are relentless. It's just one whole jump scare through and through.
Okay.
So
For any
just,
for anyone listening, this is spoiler free. So sorry. I
yeah.
just want to say you don't have to skip forward. Sorry. Go back.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I think just like, it really commits to the jump scares. And I think, there are things that can pull that off, and some people who get mad because they feel like that's like cheap,
A
cheap
cheap scare.
reactions.
Yeah.
But like, I think there are ways to make it work, and I feel like they did in this case. So I give it 2 thumbs up. I would recommend people go see this. Like, if you want to be scared, go watch this movie. Like, that's the whole point of seeing horror movies, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you want to be spooked, you want to be freaked out. Like, this will do it for a whole bunch of reasons.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Brian?
and the scares in this, like the jump scares in this, I feel like are really integrated with the plot in terms of like
Mm.
you're seeing it from her point of view with like whatever is going on with her. So it's not like a lot of the jump scares feel very justified in what she's going through, and that's definitely
Oh, okay.
appreciated. This movie is super derivative of like It Follows and The Ring, which is
Mm.
totally fine because it's still really very good. The acting is excellent. The score and the sound design is like we felt it in our
It's
seats.
nuts. It
It's
is
nuts. It's
nuts.
wild.
Yeah. It's like, I was like, am I being smiled in real life? Like, what's happening
Oh,
all
I
around
love
me? Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I was like crawled up in the seat, like
Yeah.
hiding behind my fingers.
Yeah. It was beautifully shot too. The cinematography is really good in this movie.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just like really I just dug the whole thing. Our audience was very into it, and truly
Mhm.
Jamie screamed next to me. Like the movie got
So,
it.
and then I immediately was like, fuck. I was so mad. I
Yeah,
was so
yeah,
mad that
yeah,
it got me.
And
Ugh.
and just to be super clear, one of my Scream Kings is in this movie.
Mm.
Kyle Gallner, who we all know from Jennifer's Body, Haunting in Connecticut, the
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street remake. He's in the most recent Scream movie.
Everyone can't be your Scream King. You have like a whole like royal
Well,
family of Scream Kings.
yeah, that's okay. They're a royal family. That's fine. I would put him and Brian Cox at the top of my Scream Kings list.
Those are
Okay.
the only ones you've said so far.
That's fine.
He's building community.
Yeah. Anyway, I really enjoyed Smile. It also is saying something. It's also like
Mm.
it feels very contemporary because it's listen, it's not trying to hide what it's trying to say. It's not a full on allegory for anything. Like it's
Yeah.
very clear about what it's trying to do. But I dug it. I really dug it.
Mhm.
Go see Smile.
Oh, I can't wait. If that doesn't make you want to see the movie, then I don't know what can, because jump scares, you have me in. Gratuitous jump scares, that's my jam.
I
Let's go.
Gratuitous, truly.
I really don't know the last time I saw a movie with not only this many jump scares, but this
Hmm.
many jump scares that like a high percentage, like 90% of them, 95% of them work. And you know some of them are coming and you're still like,
Yeah.
"Ugh,"
Yeah.
and that's the sound
Yeah.
design working for you too.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
I
I
mean,
was gonna say,
honestly, there I know we've talked before about how like horror movies don't get enough respect in like as a movie genre, but man,
mhm.
like I hope that there is some consideration for like best sound design or best editing, like all of these things made it really good.
Can I
Yeah. Mhm.
before we get into Hocus Pocus 2, can I
Mhm.
ask you two a question? When I
Oh
say
God,
jump scare, what is the first thing you think of? Like, what scene is the first thing you think of?
that's a great question. Do you have one, Jamie?
I mean, just like impulsively, the first thing that came up was spoiler, Haunting of Hill House, the car scene.
Yeah. Oh, that got me. Truly. Uh the first thing that popped up in my head was the Insidious
Yeah,
clip back and
Ugh.
forth with the devil head behind. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's a great one. I just got chills. Those are the two that popped for me as well. Um,
Mm.
I also think of just the first Paranormal Activity movie.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
There's not one that stands out to me, but that one definitely like was jump scary. But
Hmm.
I think the two that you mentioned are the two that like have really stuck with me, especially the
Mhm.
Hill House one, because like there's no, it's like you can't even prepare for it. You
You
can't.
can't.
No.
You
It's out of
can't.
nowhere. I spilled tea on myself. It was very hot, and like literally forever scarred from that jump scare.
Oh
Oh,
no.
God.
Okay, well, talk about a movie that actually, you know what I was going to say, has no jump scares, but I will say there was one moment that did kind of get me in Hocus Pocus too, but we'll get to that in the likes and gripes. We need to,
Oh.
however, do a 2-minute plot summary of this. So I feel like I'm going to volunteer Jamie as a tribute.
Okay, I have to push all of Smile out of my brain so I can remember this movie.
Yes.
It's like a real back-to-back movie weekend.
It sounds like the best hot start to Halloween. So
Oh,
Oh yeah.
definitely. I just have to
Oh,
like I'm still I got smiled.
love it.
oh, we also watched Grave Encounters for the first time,
Oh
which
yeah.
was very good.
Oh, I've never seen
Another
that.
another found footage like haunted location
Mm,
movie, similar to the Gonjiam Haunted Asylum,
okay.
but I kind of feel like that one is better,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
better story. But I mean, it's interesting. It was engaging. I'm glad we watched it.
Um,
just to say you watched it, yeah.
yeah, the premise though is that it's this found footage from this like early 2000s like we're going to find the haunted stuff type of TV show, and
Mhm.
boy oh boy do they knock it out of the park with like really getting the feel for those TV shows, like that early
Mm.
2000s like
Yes.
real world vibe where it's like we're here
Yeah.
at this, like what do you think about this, oh it's super oh wow, and back to it's like it's so good. Like this there are great scares in it, some spooks, like characters making dumb decisions, all that stuff, but like that part of it really got to me nostalgia wise.
Mm. And this was what called Grave Encounters?
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
suggested to me on TikTok
TikTok, I think.
when I
Mm.
did the what's your favorite um um uh found footage
Found
movie.
footage.
A
Ah,
ton of
yes.
people said Grave Encounters, so we watched it.
Oh, beautiful. I'll have to find
Mhm.
it and watch it then.
Yeah, it was good. Anyway,
Nice.
plot, Jamie, let's do this.
What's the plot?
All right. So, count me down on the
Three,
clock.
2, 1. Plot us.
Okay, so it starts in 1600s Salem. Winifred doesn't want to marry John Pritchett. She goes to her sister's. The Reverend is pissed that she's like defying his authority. And then they try to kidnap her sisters. They run into the woods. They find a witch that gives them book. And I don't remember if anything else happens. And then fast forward to now, present day Salem. These two teenagers are, obsessed with witchy stuff, but there's like this tension with their third bestie. They do their like magic ritual that they've done every year. But this time she got a special black flame candle from the Sanderson cottage, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's real. And she lights it and they come back. Oh my God, musical number. And so they take them to a Walgreens. They try to convince them that children's souls are in the Walgreens stuff, but they get got. And then Winifred decides that she wants to learn this like ultimate magical spell to defeat her nemesis, the original Reverend, whose family line has continued. The main girls try to protect the mayor. They run back across their bestie. They work through all of their trauma. The magic guy, is wildly disappointed that, or not magic guy, but the Sanderson sister shop place, wildly disappointed that he went through all of this. Was very surprised.
20 seconds.
The Reverend is now the mayor. He has no idea what's going on. And all the girls come together and they're besties again, and they join May the Coven and they defeat the Sanderson sisters. And it was the power of friendship and love all along.
Yeah.
No,
That's it. That's your time.
Oh, you're not wrong.
And that's the plot.
Beautiful. Well, okay. So obviously this is all of our first time watching this movie. And before we get into our likes and gripes of this, I would love to hear if you have any special relationship with the 90s Hocus Pocus original movie. Brian or Jamie?
I mean, I don't think I have any like special relationship. I watched it as a kid, but it definitely is something that like gets me in the Halloween mood. But I also like couldn't. There was like a period of time where it was just like not available anywhere online, so like I wasn't watching it every year because I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like until like more recently, maybe it's kind of like become this staple because of Disney Plus and having access to all of the things. But like there were many years where I was like trying to find it and like couldn't. I don't know. Then it became this like this holy thing that I couldn't get access to. But no, I think that's it. I think it's a great way to start the season.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Brian?
I don't have a special relationship to it. Definitely have nostalgia for it because I saw it as a kid. You know, as I grew up, like I would watch it here and there whenever it's on. Only until a couple years ago, recently, do we watch it every Halloween as something. It's not one of my favorites, but I really enjoy it. I think that the three of them are wildly enjoyable. I think it's fun and spooky.
Yeah.
And the musical number's fun, and I don't know, I really love it. I do, and I think it has a lot of merit, but it's not something I'm like outwardly crazy obsessed with. But as Jamie said, it's a spectacular, like, let's get into the spooky season movie, especially if you have nostalgia for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to say my earliest memories were my sister introducing me to this um, when she would come and visit us. And I just remember watching it and thinking that it was such a scary thing and all of these witches. And then,
Sure.
it comes on Freeform for the whole entire 24-hour day, and you sit, and at some point you sit through the whole movie, and so that became a thing every year, back when we all had cable TV and could watch stuff that way. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite. Let's get into the Halloween spirit. However, I'm still surprised that I have not found other people to dress up as the Sanderson sisters. I have not done that yet. That's one thing that I want to accomplish in my lifetime. Just have
Sure.
like really good costuming for all the witches. But
Who would you be if you had your choice?
I always love Sarah Jessica's. I think it was just because I loved like the long, pretty hair, and I just thought
Mm,
that she was so pretty, and she
mhm.
was just the even though she was out of her mind, not the smartest character
Sure.
on here, I just still thought that her costume was also the prettiest. What about you?
I don't know. I feel like I would have probably also picked the same,
Mm-hmm.
just because like yeah, she's like the one that's like trying to catch all the boys,
Yes.
and it's like yeah, sure,
We just
I'm into that.
right,
Trick the
exactly.
trick the men.
Let's shoot our shot. Get the men. Yes. Brian,
I
if you could
would
pick one, yeah.
I would absolutely, if I could, do William Butcherson Billy. Like
Oh
Ooh.
yeah.
that would be awesome. Also, Doug
Mhm.
Jones is like a definite hero of mine. So
Ah,
like
gotcha.
anything Doug Jones. But yeah, so I'd go with that.
That's a good
Awesome.
one.
All right, guys. Well, let's get into likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Brian, do you want to go first?
Oh yeah, sure. My favorite line from the whole movie, my like is witches are real, we're all gonna die. When
Yes.
I wrote that down too.
um so I thought this movie was delightful. I I actually laughed during it. I actually think this movie is wildly enjoyable as an adult with nostalgia for it, as well as I can imagine kids really enjoying this one too. Um I really liked the I liked that this movie didn't make them the protagonists. I feel like when antagonists become so overly popular from a movie, the sequels somehow focus on them. Like, and while this obviously did focus on them, like they're the focal point of this movie. Um, it still is a story about these three kids, figuring out that like friendship is important and like treat each other well and sisterhood and all of what it's trying to say, while still making the witches the villains. They're still trying to
Hmm.
kill people. They're still doing these things, even though they're funny and lighthearted and their banter is lovely together. I appreciate that they didn't make it like the Sanderson sisters need help, like building a house. Like what I don't know, like um,
That's
I
great.
appreciated that.
Oh.
um, I really liked a couple things. I liked the plotting of this movie. I like that the Sam Richardson character tricked them into lighting the candle, and that's how everything like kind of started. I like that it all happened by accident in a way. I like that the book hatched this plan. I thought that was
Mm.
fantastic. I like that the book
Mm.
was sweaty. I like that the book was a real character in this movie. And like
Yes.
the book had to choose because the book has feelings about that spell.
Mm.
I like that Hannah Waddington is in it because I will watch her in anything because she is an absolute delight on um, Ted Lasso, and she's an absolute delight
Mhm.
here, even in her one scene that kind of like, which is like, here's a book, okay, thank you. And I guess the bird follows her.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, I love when I don't know why, but when she slapped Sarah Jessica Parker like really hard, it was so funny to me. I don't know why. I liked all the fun flashback stuff. I liked the songs are fun. They make no sense. I love them. And even the
Mm.
second one was weird that they were doing that song. Um uh but like it made sense like them trying to like get everyone to like find the mayor or whatever it is. Um I liked that was campy and they were having fun. I also like that they didn't bring in the old characters. I like that this was a new story in the same place with the witches, and like that was it. And yes, they
Mm.
talk back to stuff. Okay, so but I also love the fart noise when she's walking into the Walgreens. I laughed. It was
Oh,
so stupid.
yes.
I laughed.
It was so silly.
So I'm gonna do
Goodness.
my gripes and then go back to my number one like about this. Like
Okay.
gripe. this isn't perfect. This is nostalgia. This is like, and that's fine, but like, there's a little piece of that where it's just like, I don't know, just like, you don't have to remind me that you're a sequel. I know it. It's in your title. Like, you don't have to like,
Mm,
so that's one thing. Two, this is a leg and a gripe. The inconsistencies of what they knew was like all over the place, meaning like what they knew about contemporary life since 1993 versus this one.
mm.
However, I really laughed out loud when they knew exactly how to pose for a picture in a selfie.
Yes.
It was funny, even though like
That
no,
was
it doesn't make
cute.
any sense. There's a
Right, right.
lot that I was like, listen, I'm on the ride for this.
Exactly.
I don't always love when they're like, but this character was really there in the first movie. Like the Sam Richardson character, like being there for the finale of the first one was like, okay, like you didn't have to do it
Mhm.
that way. You didn't have to like
I
show
get it. Yeah.
at that end like recreate that last scene. Like that's fine, whatever. Um, uh, okay, so those are the things. But my number one like about this movie, listen, it's not perfect. Like this is like it's whatever. I like the director Ann Fletcher who directed like The Proposal and like some other movies like that. And I love rom coms. Um,
Love it.
but the number one best thing about this movie is it didn't feel like a paycheck for them. The three of them were having a blast, like truly having a wonderful time. It wasn't like Harrison Ford come back for Star Wars, where like he's like, "Fine, I'll do Han Solo for a lovely check, just make sure that like I don't have to do any more." Like this felt like the three of them were so thankful that the fans, and it's meta in this, like everyone's dressing up as them and they love being idolized and like all of
Mhm.
that. I just thought that was absolutely lovely. And what could have been a schlocky, stupid ending was actually incredibly heartfelt because you know how much Bette Midler loves playing this part and doing it with the other two, and how much so like that whole end sequence. And I really like how they didn't leave it open ended realistically.
Mhm.
And I kind of like that they upped the ante by actually having them fight magic versus magic versus just like kids tricking you. You know what I mean? Like they learned their
Mm.
lesson, so there had to be a one up from the first one. But the three of them just having a good time is what have made me have a good time. So those are my likes and gripes.
Yeah, Brian, I'll piggyback off of that because you said basically 70-80% of how I felt about this movie. First, I just want to say I would love to live in the town of Salem or like Salem that does Halloween up. I need to find that area,
Mhm.
that cul-de-sac, that neighborhood because I want to live there for the rest of my life. I also loved the backstory, and it was just so cute how those little kids were dressed up as the younger Sanderson sisters. I thought that was absolutely adorable. I did like having some of the clips from the '90s movie kind of woven in there, just in case, maybe someone is brand new to this, and this might be their first introduction. They at least get a full sense of what the previous story was as we're continuing on. Uh, and I love the explanation of the candle and
Mhm.
how them only being able to come alive for one night when the candle is lit, and then like in the daytime they disappear. That it kind of clears up some of those rules there of like how
Sure.
they can come back and how
Oh,
they hadn't come
we.
back since the '90s because of that reason. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to remind listeners how much the three of us love rules in horror movies.
It has to make sense, even though we're still
Mhm.
suspending our disbeliefs about witches and powers and magic. It's like, but
Yes.
the candles, the rules, it made sense. So I was happy.
Yeah. You can't create your own rules and then break them and expect me to care about your movie or characters. Like,
Yes.
how many times have we watched a movie where like this doesn't follow like the rules that you set up yourself? And this one,
Yeah.
Right.
oh, thank you for following your own rules. What a delight.
Yes. Like I said, also, Brian, I put witches are real, we're all gonna die in my notes because it was great.
Yeah.
And oh, I did love the line about witches getting their power at 16, and the main character, I think Becca, they're talking to the store clerk, Sam's character, and I think she says something about, yeah, witches getting their power at 16 is probably some patriarchal fear of women aging or something
Yeah.
like that. I thought that
Yeah.
was a great little, we're in this time frame. Here we go, moment. Yes, for the opening number because Bette Midler singing all the time, absolutely. The jump scare that got me was
Mm.
honestly when they were performing and the kids were running away from them and the
Oh,
girl
yeah.
screams, "Who are they performing for?" And Sarah Jessica Parker says, "You." And I just
Yeah.
thought that
Oh,
was great.
that got me. That got me.
Yeah,
I'm a
that
very
got
easy
me.
mark. Yeah.
Yes, but also it's a kids movie, so you're not thinking that the jump was going to hit that strongly, and it did.
Mhm.
It did for me, so I love it. But my absolute favorite line, and I really think that 80% of some of their stuff was ad lib, and they were just you know conversing with each other and them improving with each other in that moment, because Kathy says something along the lines like, "Oh no, not your teeth; they're your calling card," and it was just so quick talking to
Oh.
Winnie, and I loved it. I hated the boyfriend character. I thought that his entire the one of the girls who had got her boyfriend and then she stopped
Mm.
talking to her friends. His whole character, it didn't make sense to me, so that's a gripe. And he just
Oh,
seemed kind
yeah.
of dumb for dumb's sake, and he didn't
Mm.
help or add to the story at all, in my opinion. So I didn't need him. They could still find the power of friendship without without him.
Sure.
And this watching this movie, I didn't really like the plot, but I just loved watching these characters just because I loved the movie. But watching this really made me appreciate the special effects in the 90s movie because they were
Mm.
really great. And the 90s movie seemed a little bit more for lack of a better word, grungier. I mean, it was grunge of the 90s, like it seemed
Mm.
more grittier. And this movie had that clear, 2020 Disney filter on it, just the color
Mhm.
scheme and everything. It was just very, very, this is family friendly, family friendly, family friendly. Where I think I like the 90s one better, not just because it's the first one and the storyline, but because it was
Sure.
just a little bit more grounded and gritty, and like you could go there but we're not. It's still family and friendly, but it wasn't too squeaky clean.
Yeah.
um so yeah, those are my likes and gripes of that. But overall, it's a good time. If you love the first one, we're not expecting the second one, like you said, Brian, to be the best thing. It's just something that keeps you going because you love the movies and you love seeing these actresses together. So yeah, Jamie.
I mean, I think both of you kind of said a lot of the things that I was thinking. I mean, I I want to like highlight both Sam Richardson and Tony Hale because I really like them, especially Tony Hale. He was really good
Hmm.
in this. And just like really made me chuckle. Um
Yes.
I I'll just go straight to like my biggest gripe, and maybe I'm just like a grumpy person who doesn't like fun. But like I get annoyed sometimes when sequels just redo like the things that made the originals good and great.
Hmm.
And like the things that I like about this movie are the things that you said, where like they do create a new story with these characters that we love, but there's like something else going on and they're not, like the main protagonist that we're focusing on. But I mean, I don't need to see them, do the silly walk. They It's just like so many of those little things that I feel like yes made the first one good, but then it just kind of like takes away, and at least for me,
Mm.
the like enjoyment, because it's the nostalgia factor that I feel like these larger production companies that have so much IP are just like, like putting in front of our faces and like trying to distract us with it. And again, I don't think this is a bad movie by any means. I thought it was really fun. I
Hmm.
just like, I don't need you to try to intentionally manipulate me with nostalgic content. Like, just make a good movie. You don't have
Yeah.
to do all of that stuff. We already saw it. We saw in the first one. That's why we like the first one. You don't have to do the same things over and over again. So like
Yeah.
that's my only that's like my real gripe that I was complaining to Brian about after watching the movie. But again, like I do think that this was a good movie. I do appreciate that they created a new and engaging story and like even gave us further backstory on the Sanderson sisters that I didn't necessarily thought, like I never thought we'd get more of, but it also really
Hmm.
focuses on like their coven and like the connection to one another, their sisterhood, and like, and that being meaningful and like kind of, you know, a nicer contemporary message that I feel like there's a lot of other things that we've been getting more of recently, where it is like this focus on connection. I mean, in trying to think of like a good suggestion, there are so many horror movies that have like basically friendships gone wrong is like the premise of the horror movie, or like sisterhood gone bad, or like what these close relationships that fall apart and then everything goes to shit. So like I actually was trying to think harder about like, what about relationships that like are mended and they come together, and that being the thing that like protects them or saves them or like helps them defeat the big bad. Like we don't get as many of those, and I like I like this new trend of like, let's focus on relationships, and like, you know, that people can overcome these tensions and these conflicts in order to work through and defeat the big bad, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of a hodgepodge of likes and gripes.
No.
So you're basically saying that Hocus Pocus 2 is like Hill House in the way that everyone is coming together to defeat the big bad. Yes.
Yeah, we love everyone, you know, coming together and defeating evil, and that's
Fantastic. Brian,
Well,
were you going to say something?
oh, it's just interesting because you kind of have to watch it with a different eye when you have nostalgia for the first one, because nostalgia won't hit you for this one. Like, you're not going to find nostalgia for this movie. This movie is just feeding off the nostalgia you have for the other one. So I'm actually
Mhm.
very much looking forward to whenever we have children, like adding this to like the October like watch list, like to be able to, you know, do Hocus Pocus and a Hocus Pocus 2 and then develop like a nostalgia for like these two movies, because after a certain age, like this movie was just a movie I watched on a Friday night and it was super fun and it made me feel warm inside, but it wasn't great. Like it wasn't like exceptional. It was fine. But I'm not gonna build and create nostalgia in myself for this movie. I will always have nostalgia for the first one, and I will know that a second one exists if I want some
Mm-hmm.
more another hit of that nostalgia. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm always gonna go back to the first one. But again, I really look forward to adding this to um the roulette of horror movies for October, like when I get to show my kids some fun kid appropriate spooky movies, and that, like, you know, that they'll carry these two movies with them, that we can add it to their list. And I'm very much looking forward to that. But I had a good time watching it, but it didn't like, I wasn't like woo wee, you know what I mean?
What weren't you like?
Woo wee.
That's fair. I don't actually remember you woo-weeing while we were watching it. So.
No, I didn't. I was definitely smiling from ear to ear, but not in a way that I was in the. I didn't get smiled. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
Goodness. Wait, okay, so Brian, when you do have kids, you're telling me like out the gate, you're not going to show them The Conjuring or Saw, you know? I mean, just get them in good so they'll just be prepared for life.
Excellent question, Nikisha. I plan on first showing them The Conjuring and then sneaking into the room at night and just going in the dark.
Or slowly pull the
That's
covers
so
away from
rude.
the
Yeah. Have
Oh
you
my
seen?
god.
There's some excellent. There's like a weird trend um on TikTok
Mhm.
where people are turning off their breakers while people are using the joke is like they're using a Ouija board upstairs and you hear them scream because the lights go off. If I
What?
ever have that opportunity, I will 1000% do that. However, there will never be a Ouija board in my house, so it will never happen.
Yes. Oh my gosh, just a quick side note. One of my friends bought me a journal that has a Ouija board picture on it. And I believe a few episodes ago we talked about how I don't even want to buy merch that
Mm-hmm.
has
Mhm.
a Ouija board on it, but this was a gift. So I
They
guess
also
I'll
sell
keep it.
them at your local Spirit Halloween.
Yes. I can't. I absolutely can't do it. It's too much. Okay, well, let's get into some brains.
Brains.
I think we can squeeze a little brains out of this family-friendly movie.
Mhm.
So, my question to
Squeeze
you,
some brains out of it. I
some
love that. Yeah,
brains.
ring out. Yeah.
Okay, so Jamie, my question to you is about Grudges, because we know that Miss Winifred is holding a grudge for the Reverend because he was going to take her sisters away, and she held it for hundreds of years. So I just want to ask you, on a mental health side, what damage can you do to yourself by holding on to grudges?
Yeah, and I would even argue that like, the younger friendship that we're seeing, like there's a little bit of a grudge being held
Mm,
until they have the opportunity to like talk it all out, but that only comes from like there being this immediate danger like present that they have to deal with. But otherwise like I'm sure they would have held grudges for one another too.
yeah, yeah,
Um
absolutely.
but I mean, I don't know if this is like specific to grudges, but I feel like the like the anger and frustration that comes from whether like a person or what something that a person has done, I feel like carrying that anger typically is probably not always like the most helpful, and it
Mm,
takes away from like other things in your life when so much of your energy is like put into like, you know, I hate this person, like I want revenge, or like I
mm-hmm,
hate this person, and like, I want other people to hate them too, or other people to know. Like there's just so much energy that's like put into that. And it takes away from other aspects of your life. Like you're more than just like these feelings on this particular person. Like
mm-hmm.
you're your own whole person. And so
Yeah,
like how much energy is being drained and like, being put into that specific vein of your life versus the other things that like actually bring you joy and pleasure and happiness, and like what does it do for you to put more put more focus and emphasis on those things,
mm-hmm.
also as a way to like minimize the rage and anger that you have towards this one person.
Yeah.
So I think there's also, I forget exactly what the saying is, but it's like the best thing you can do is just like not care. I know
Mm,
I'm not saying it right, but like the best revenge on someone else is to just like live your life in your own success, because like, you're focused on you and you're focused on your own growth and doing well, and like that's better than anything that you could like do intentionally to
yeah,
get back at somebody for like wronging you. Because
yeah,
like, it's also creating space and distance from that person, but again ultimately it's like you are focused on yourself and your own growth, and like, and and why is that more important than this other person who did something to like harm you? And again,
right.
context, I think that context is super important. And this is also a made up movie about witches,
Yes.
so
Interesting.
take what I
Interesting.
say with a grain of salt. Because for some people, like, you know and it's not even, I know I keep saying, I need to, that's like, just,
It's all
do
good.
you know? I don't know.
I
Now I'm
don't
stuck on
Yeah,
it.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. I know.
know.
um, but oh, what was I going to say? Oh, that like you don't have to necessarily forgive somebody. Like I think that there's pressure that we put on people to like forgive and forget.
I was just gonna ask you
Um,
that. Yep. Hmm.
yeah, I, I don't. I mean, again, I think the focus should be on yourself and like what do you need to do to move forward, because like thinking getting stuck on feeling wronged by somebody is it can like leave you feeling extra stuck, and like again that stuckness leads to frustration, it leads to like not being able to fully accept reality for what it
Hmm.
is. And when you're feeling that way, like asking yourself, like, is it serving me? Like, is this helpful? Does feeling this way and experiencing this move me closer to my goals? Like, those are the actual questions that I will ask people to like ask themselves. Like, when you're noticing that you're feeling some type of way, like, is it a helpful emotion? Do you feel
Mm,
like it's like helping motivate you or like move you closer to the goals that you have for yourself? Because if the answer is no, then like that's a point of kind of reevaluating and seeing, is there something else I could be doing that might, help me actually move closer to the things that I want for myself, that will help me get closer towards success and joy and happiness, and is doing what I'm doing right now like helping me get there? So
right.
like those are sometimes helpful questions to ask. But I think that puts less pressure on this idea that like we have to forgive people who've done shitty things to us or
Mhm.
forget it. Cause like I don't know many people that like forget those types of things. I mean, it depends on again,
Yeah.
like the severity of the thing that happened, but like
Right.
you don't I mean, our past is our past. Like we don't forget our past. It's a those experiences have informed the present and sometimes help define who we are, but like we also decide who we want to be now and moving forward. So like,
Mhm.
who do you want to be? Do you want to be this person that is so influenced by this person that brings you so much rage and frustration and anger?
Mhm.
Or do you want to be your own person that's detached from all of that?
Yeah, especially because that person that you feel wronged by is out living their life and not even
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what they done to you. So for
Yeah.
you to just sit and stew in that, yeah, it's
Well,
not helpful at all.
Nikisha, you know what they say.
Oh God.
Forgiveness. Can you imagine?
Oh no. I
Here's
knew
a
it was
question.
coming.
Here's a question for you. So you're in Hamilton playing Eliza, and
Mhm.
spoiler alert for Act Two of Hamilton. Um, you have to forget your character, or you in the moment has to forgive this man after something traumatic has happened to the two of you together.
Mhm.
You have to forgive this man for what he did to you as an individual. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, can you talk about how you justified that forgiveness as Eliza? Like,
Yeah.
as we're talking about forgiveness, like this like hit me because I was singing it in my head the whole time that Jamie was talking.
And I knew that some Hamilton reference was coming, but it didn't come to me quick enough because also that show is 3 hours long. So I was thinking, where is forgiveness?
You're like,
Oh, was it
Yeah,
Hamilton?
you're running through
Our
your whole
sisters.
track in your head. How does a bastard orphan son of
Right.
okay?
Oh God, that was perfect. But what a great question too. And I just want to say, Jamie, I'm so happy that you touched on forgive or forget and forget because I was telepathy to you. I was going to ask you about all of that. So I'm very, very grateful that you just answered everything that I was going to ask you about that. In regards to Hamilton, I will say that our director is really great at allowing us to kind of choose our adventure in how we want to process the trauma that's happened between us. So even though the whole ensemble is singing forgiveness, in that moment, we also, as Eliza, can have the choice of right now, we're still processing and we don't fully forgive you. We're definitely don't forget it because it just happened, but we know that we love this person, Hamilton, and that we have this shared experience that we're going to need each other to get through, right? So
Mhm.
I think that how I look at it, and I think one of many ways, but I like to play it as when she finally grabs his hand, she takes his hand, and then I'd sing it's quiet uptown. It's me just saying, I know you're here for me. We can get through this together, but right now I'm still very, very upset and we have a lot that we need to process to the point where I don't even look at him the entire time. And I turn to him and he just grabs my arm and walks me off the stage just to kind of keep that tension of like, you still did wrong and it's not all sunshine and rainbows right now, but
Mhm.
we are in this together with this shared experience that we have to get through, so we're going to keep moving through it in there. And I think that kind of describes what Jamie was talking about in a sense of, you know um you're still going to have that hurt and it's still it takes the pressure off of you to feel like you have to instantly forgive and forget, because even if you may want to forgive and forget, sometimes you physically the feelings are still there and they don't just magically go away. So it's nice to know that you can still be kind of moving forward, but moving forward in a way that Jamie said is servicing you best
Mhm.
without
Mhm.
feeling that you just need to totally throw all the feelings away in general. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Well, are we ready to Rotten Tomatoes this?
Let's do it.
Rotten
Yes.
Um,
tomato.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
so let's do some Rotten Tomatoes. However, I want
Uh-oh.
you to guess both the first movie and this one. So I want you
Hmm.
to do Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2. Okay. So let's go with Jamie. What are your 2% guesses for Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus Tucus? Tucus.
Hocus
Tuckus?
Pocus Tuckus. Yeah, Tuckus.
Um, okay. I'm going to say Hocus Pocus Uno has a 93 and Hocus Pocus Tuchus has a 69.
Okay. Nikisha, what are your guesses?
Yeah, I'm gonna say OG 93 and
That's what Jamie just said.
oh, sorry, 92. I'll go 92.
Okay.
And I don't know why I thought I heard 96 in my brain. Anyway, uh 92 for me. And I'm gonna say 59 for the second
Okay.
one.
Hocus Pocus Uno has a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What?
It has a 71% audience score, but the one based on the critics reviews is 38%, and the critic consensus is it's only 58 reviews. Again, it was 1993.
Okay.
Harmlessly hokey, yet never much more than mediocre. Hocus Pocus is a muddled, family-friendly effort that fails to live up to the talents of its impressive cast. So
Hmm.
that's Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus
Hmm.
2 has a 59%, which Nikisha nailed.
Oh, work. I didn't
The
cheat, I promise.
the audience score is 56. So that 59% is based on almost more than double 111, excuse me, 112 reviews.
Mm.
Um and Hocus Pocus 2 is basically a boiling cauldron of nostalgia, but that's just enough for this belated sequel to cast a reasonably effective spell.
Hmm.
Whose job is it to write the critics' consensus?
I don't know. And that's a great question. Do they have
Who is like perfectly summing up like all of
Everyone,
these,
yeah.
yeah, all of the critiques?
is it AI? Is it just someone who's like director of critics consensus? Like what a cool
How,
job.
I was gonna say you need that job, Brian. How can we
Yeah,
get
you
you
should
that
Yeah,
job?
apply.
I should. Next time they're hiring for director of critics
Consensus.
consensus.
Critics' consensus.
Yeah, I'm honestly I'll be a critics consensus coordinator if they need me to.
Oh, love it.
All right. So that's been Rotten Tomatoes. I you Hocus Pocus usually ends up on those lists of like movies that don't like that critics and audiences disagree on. Like
Hmm.
typically. Okay, but let's do some 4S's.
Yes, sis.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horns 4 S's.
Okay. The 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions.
Yes.
Skulls is about mental health and human behavior. Scares is how scary it was. Shakes is how much will it stick with you. 1 through 10, we're rating these. And then we'll get into suggestions. But Jamie, why don't you start with your skulls, scares, and shakes? Give us your numbers.
Sure.
What's your skull?
I will. So for skulls, I gave this a 4. It had me with the like connection to, relationships, friendships, the power of sisterhood. Um, and lost me with a lot of other silly general silliness. Um, Scares, I gave it a 1. This movie isn't scary. And Shakes, I gave it a 3 because, it's a sequel to like a beloved Halloween movie, but it's not, like I said, I still got Smile on the brain. I'm smiled. So like that's fully taken over my brain, and this is kind of on the back burner.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's actually add what would you give Hocus Pocus as just the original one, just as your shakes?
Maybe like a 7.
Mm.
Cool.
I mean, it always comes to my brain, in spooky season. So like,
Definitely.
I think that that's a significant hold that movie has on me.
Totally. Nikisha, what are your skull scares and shakes? And then do both for your shakes.
Great. Skulls, I'm gonna give it a 2. Scares, I'm gonna give it a 1. It's not scary. And shakes, I'm gonna give it a 4 for the exact same reason that Jamie said. And I would give the OG Hocus Pocus an 8. It's really packed in there in the brain
Yeah,
skis.
totally.
Yes.
Um, I'm gonna give Skulls a 5 because it's a kids movie, and I think it's trying to do something and say something to kids. So I appreciated that, even though the other stuff is like, a little weird. Something we did not mention, and Jamie talked about it, was caramel apples, and I would also be distraught if I didn't get my caramel apple. So that's why it gets a 5.
Yes.
Um, the scares a 1. The only thing that got me was the one that you mentioned, Nikisha. I probably would
Mhm.
have given it a 0 if that one didn't like get me.
Land,
Um,
yeah.
Shakes, I'll give it a 5 just because it's a sequel to this, and I'll always think about it when I think of the first one, which is an 8. So like, I'll
Yeah.
think of the first one, like, oh, there was a sequel. Oh, that we had a good time watching that. That was fine. And so yeah, that's what I'm going with. But suggestions, um, Jamie, what's your suggestion to pair with Hocus Pocus 2? And rule, you cannot choose Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
Don't worry, I picked Schmokus Hocus.
Of
Absolutely.
course. Oh yeah, of course.
The prequel,
um,
yes.
so I have two, and again, it's kind of in line with what I was talking about before. Of like, I wanted to pick movies where friendship and like relationships play a strong role in defeating the big bad.
Mm.
So my first one is It, chapters 1 and 2.
Oh.
Mm.
um and as like a marginally scarier movie than the Hocus Pocus franchise. And my other pick is the Fear Street franchise.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little Salem in there. Bow. A little
Mm.
Yes.
Puritan action. Cool. Nikisha, what about you? I'm never
I'm
saying
gonna
Puritan action ever again.
I don't think the Puritans were really having a lot of
I'm so
action.
sorry.
Yikes. That's beautiful.
Only pops.
Oh God.
Only pops.
So I'm gonna just suggest a movie that just came out, I think, or is about to come out. Anyway, it's starring Marlon Wayans, and it gives the same Disney-esque vibe with the kiddos and such. And it's a movie called The Curse of Bridge Hollow. And it's set in a
Hmm.
town that's kind of like Salem, who does up Halloween, and then spooky things are happening, and it's family movie overcoming all the things happening in their little town. So I feel like it gives that similar Disney-esque vibe, but it's actually a Netflix original movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is not out just yet. But
Okay.
it comes out this month on Netflix. And yeah, it
Yeah.
totally is giving that like Goosebumps vibe too.
Yeah. Hmm.
Totally. Um, I'm going with The Witches.
Oh yeah.
Just a
Good.
scarier version of this that I have childhood nostalgia for.
The first one or the remake?
Oh,
Terrifying.
the first one. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the new one. The
Okay.
Angelica Houston original one
Got it.
for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Fantastic. Well, I think that ends our episode of the Hocus Pocus. You can follow us on all social medias, Instagram, and look at all the wonderful stuff that's happening on our Twitter account at Talk Horror Pod. You can watch us on the YouTubes. Hi, everyone on
Hi.
YouTubes. And
Hi.
Brian, where can they listen to us?
Sure, you can listen to us wherever, and I mean it, wherever you get podcasts. That includes things like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank
And thank
you.
you.
But in all seriousness, reviewing us and rating us on there really does help other people find us, especially during this spooky season, October. We're doing a ton of stuff. You're going to get 2 episodes a week, one new release, and then one nostalgia pick that each of us has made. So check us out
Mhm.
there. I'm watching a horror movie every single day this month, and I'm posting about it on TikTok and Instagram. So check it out there. Plus reviews of other movies that we're not covering on the podcast. For instance, we mentioned the Spirit Halloween movie, and there'll be a lot more in between there as well. So definitely check that out.
Do it.
Beautiful. Do it. Do it. Awesome.
it.
Well, I want to sign off with my favorite one that I already said from this movie because it's still just it's so great and Kathy is a wonderful human being. But sign off with not your teeth, they're your calling card. Alrighty, thanks guys.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.